by himself. From far away.
Big time three-pointer.
And here is Robinson from mid-court hit.
NBA TV Real Training Camp is back on the air from the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. It's the New York Knicks training camp. You saw Allen Houston arriving earlier this morning, attempting another comeback to make this team. Jamal Crawford was the star of the New York Knicks a year ago. There is Nate Robinson, former slam dunk champion. He's going to be ready to go as well. And hello again, basketball fans. Great to have you with us here in Tarrytown, New York. I'm Rick Kamla. That is Walt Clyde Frazier, Knick legend and NBA Hall of Famer. And Clyde, it's great to be on the air with you. And as we talk about this New York Knicks team, they've got Donnie Walsh, they've got Mike D'Antoni, they've got a new regime, they've got a new identity, they're trying to instill a new culture, and it's all about a new beginning and a fresh start for a team that won 23 games a year ago.
Yeah, you're right, Rick. Tumultuous season last year for the Knicks, again missing the playoffs, all the off-court shenanigans I thought carried over onto the court, and that definitely affected the team. So Mike D'Antoni trying to come in and reinstill some confidence in this young team. And obviously he likes to run and gun. That's what he did in Phoenix, so he's trying to bring that to New York as well. Last year the Knicks averaged 97 points a game. The league average is 98, but they also gave up 103 points. So there's a very delicate balance there that Mike has to try to work out to get this team back into a winning mode.
Clyde, roughly a -6 in the point differential for the New York Knicks, and that's how you sink to near the bottom of the standings. 14th in the Eastern Conference for the New York Knicks. And as we take a look at the last season recap, there were only 4 teams in the NBA with fewer wins than the New York Knicks. And speaking to some of the statistics you were talking about, assisting, 18.7 per game. That's not even close to good enough. Shot blocking last in the NBA, 2.6 per game. Their leader in blocks last year was Eddie Curry at .49. Not even one guy close to 1 block per game. They have to change that.
Yeah, because the paint was open, so that's why teams were able to devastate the Knicks down the stretch. They ran a lot of pick and rolls play because they knew Curry would not step up to defend that shot. So definitely defense is going to be one area they must shore up. I think team chemistry. Obviously, they have a lot of guys that can score, but playing together as a team, which D'Antoni is going to demand, and that's what he did with Phoenix. They were a run-and-gun team, but they also had a system. I mean, they do not have a guy in the backcourt that can direct them like Nash, but they brought in Duhan, and they're very high on him. I think he could be one of the catalysts this year for the Knicks.
D'Antoni has said that, he wants to run, obviously, and he mentioned the team chemistry that you talked about, and he has talked about this team playing together. How does that happen tangibly?
Tangibly, they have to look at last season, which was a fiasco. If they're going to turn it around, it has to be teamwork, both on the offense and the defense. So, and when you bring in a coach like D'Antoni, he brings a lot of credibility. So right away, the team respect him. And when I see guys losing weight, I see Q Rich is thinner. I see a lot of the players coming in shape because they're excited about this opportunity to play under this type of system. Allen Houston, again, looking to make a comeback. Hey, I might talk to the coach while I'm here. I can still shoot if they let me run.
And Allen Houston, after 3 years out of basketball, trying to make that comeback, tried last year in training camp, was not ready mentally and was not ready physically, and it didn't work out. He's hoping it does work out this time around. And you saw Mike D'Antoni there, and I want to go back to Quentin Richardson for a second. Had his best year as an NBA player in 04-05 with Mike D'Antoni, set an NBA record for threes attempted and led the league in threes that year. He is down 25 pounds from a year ago, had back surgery about 18 months ago, really set him back physically, couldn't work out as much as he wanted, but look at the svelte Q-Rock.
Yeah, I think Q Rich is perhaps that most versatile player. He can score, he can defend, he can rebound, 230. So that's going to help them tremendously. Last year he had a poor shooting season, and he's looking to obviously rebound from that. And again, whenever I see a player losing weight, he's very serious about what he's doing, and he wants to improve something coming into this season.
Mike D'Antoni, new head coach, and he was hired by the new president of basketball operations, Donnie Walsh. He replaces Isaiah Thomas. And Donnie Walsh has long been known as one of the top executives in the NBA, really helped build that Indiana Pacer team into a title contender. And were it not for the situations that they had, roughing it up a little bit, they may have won an NBA championship under Donnie Walsh. And here he is in what probably will be his last stop as an NBA executive, trying to win a championship and restore championship order to the New York Knicks franchise.
Yeah, because there was a lot of talk about Mark Jackson being the Knicks coach. Obviously, Mark lacks experience, has never coached, so I think you're right. Walsh knows that this is his last run, so he brought in a very experienced coach and Mike D'Antoni. They seem to have a good chemistry going together. But if you look at Indiana on the Walsh, they also played defense. They were not a necessarily run-and-gun club. But you can see D'Antoni has come in with his style, his players, so this is going to be a very up-tempo style of play for the New York Knicks.
And Clyde, I want to go back to the Walsh decision to hire D'Antoni. Was Mike necessarily Donnie's first choice? I mean, because it was a process to find this head coach, and Mike wasn't necessarily going to come to the Knicks, but he is here as head coach with the Knicks. He is mic'd up, and let's listen in.
Fist up short, Houston, and power, and then we'll have angle, dive, curl, and power. And we'll walk through it, jog through it, then we'll come together, do stretching, and start going. Is everybody cool? Let's have a great practice day, guys. We got Eddie back. We got to incorporate him. We got to get everybody ready to go. We've got exhibition games coming up, and then the regular season. But we want to be ready. We want to surprise some people. Right now, they think you're 30th, so we got. The only way we're going to change that is by coming out and playing hard every possession. Okay? Let's bring it in. Let's go,
y'all. Knicks on three. 1, 2, 3.
Knicks. Let's go, guys. Go. On this court, Duhon, Crawford, Q, Lee, Randolph, Collins, Ewing, and one I can't read. Everybody else on the other court. Who's that? Wilson, stay here. You're over there. No, you're here. We got Steph and Nate over here. Steph, Nate, Eddie Curry, Jerome, Malik, Grunfeld, Houston, Roberson. All right, let's go. Let's get through it. Right there, Nate. Get your ball there, Nate.
Marketing day stuff going on. Can he go ahead and get started?
He can do whatever he wants to. Yeah. Hey, do me a favor. In my refrigerator after a while, give me one of those. Yeah.
Mike D'Antoni getting his players ready, and a motivational speech, and it was a short one, Clyde, but saying most people think we're 30th. And, I don't know if I think they're 30th, but, definitely bottom 10, and they got to work up from there. Where do you see this New York Knicks team heading into this season as it pertains to the rest of the NBA? And what are some of the things that they're working on right here in practice?
Well, first of all, if you look at the Eastern Conference, it's much improved. Philadelphia now with Brand, Toronto now with O'Neal. Orlando team has a lot of experience. I think Milwaukee's going to be improved now with Jefferson. The Pistons always are going to be there. So if you look at it on paper, Knicks might be 9th or 10th trying to get into that playoff spot. So it's going to be imperative. I think this year they must make the playoff in order to create the hoopla that they need to and build upon something very positive that Mike D'Antoni's trying to do. Right now they're just going through basic offensive sets, getting familiar with the offense. They have one offensive team on each end of the court, and they're just going through the plays before they get into a scrimmage. Most of this seemed familiar to me, Rick, but vaguely. I can't believe it's been 30 years since I played a game.
30 years for number 10, and what a career you had with the New York Knicks, helping them win a pair of NBA championships. And this man sitting to my right, the author of one of the great quotes in the history of the NBA, saying after the Game 7 victory back in that finals when Willis Reed was hurt, played the beginning of Game 7, then left, and you, of course, had an unbelievable stat line in that Game 7. You said, Willis provided the inspiration, I provided the devastation.
And that was true, because before the game, we didn't know if Willis would play. And so when we went on the court, we were just as flabbergasted as everybody else when he walked onto the court. But at that time, I saw three of the greatest players ever. I saw Wilt Chamberlain, I saw Elgin Baylor, I saw Jerry West stopping their tracks. And they were just mesmerized by Reed. At that point, I said to myself, we got these guys, man. That gave me so much confidence. And we knew that with Willis out there, we had a chance, and that's the inspiration that he brought to that game.
Phenomenal quote, and an amazing situation in NBA history. I know Knick fans will never forget it. And Clyde, I know Knick fans are still holding on to that. You know, this franchise has not won a championship since the early 70s. A couple of trips to the finals since, losing to Houston, losing to San Antonio, knocking on the door a bunch of other times. But it has been a long drought without a championship for this franchise.
Yeah, but you know, in New York, the glass is always half full.
Really?
Yeah, they're always optimistic. And this season, optimism abounds because of that man right there. They know his record with Phoenix, and they feel that he's the right guy to turn this Knicks franchise around.
And Mike D'Antoni, wildly successful with the Phoenix Suns, won a Coach of the Year award, averaged roughly 55 to 57 wins in his tenure there, really helped Steve Nash win a couple of MVP awards. I think Nash would be the first to tell you, I probably don't win either of those without the coaching and tutelage of Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, he seemed to help a lot of players. We talked about Q Rich, also thriving under his auspices, as well as Roger Bell. So we've seen a lot of what you thought were mediocre players have career seasons under Mike D'Antoni. I think one of the things that players like about him is he's very simplistic. No, he's unpretentious. He just tells you what he wants you to do. If you open, shoot. I mean, what player doesn't like that? Normally, you don't have to encourage NBA players to shoot the ball, but he's the type of coach that he wants you. If you're open, you have a shot to take that shot.
And especially on this team, you know, we talked off the air. That man loves to put it up there. Zach Randolph loves to get his shot. Stephon Marbury is a score-first point guard. There are a lot of, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily selfish. I'm saying they're very skilled offensive players. They're very competent in what they can do. And part of the charge of Mike D'Antoni is going to get these guys to feel each other out and only take good shots.
You got to think team first with Mike. Like when I played, I could have scored more. Willis could have scored more, but we would not have been as successful. So you have to think about the team. What's better for the team? If Jamal scores 25, rather as he scores 20 and have 7 assists. So he has to get his teammates involved as well as getting himself involved in the game.
Quentin Richardson jacking one up, and since coming over from Phoenix to New York, it has not been, the stay in the Big Apple that he would have liked, but he's hoping for big things this year. The weight is down, the conditioning is up, and he has been described as a revelation in this training camp. And of course, they were in Saratoga up at Skidmore College, not at the College of Charleston, which was always a Pat Riley staple. They've really turned the page and opened up a new chapter of the book, and with a new training camp regimen, and now they're here in Tarrytown, obviously not that far from Manhattan, where they will ball this year and try to pack that beautiful arena. Wall, probably more important than anything, just get a positive vibe, just get a buzz back at Madison Square Garden that has been missing, if not only fleeting, here for the past 5 or so years.
Yeah, the world's most famous arena is no longer intimidating for the opposition. When Riley played, you could see the fear in teams when they came to the Garden. The Knicks have lost that majesty right now. Only 15 victories at home, 8 on the road. So in order, the quick fix to turning the season around is to become more of a dominant home team. So if you win all of your home games, you're at 50%. So the Knicks have to really improve there, capitalize on the vociferous crowd at Madison Square Garden to get them involved. But right now, when the Knicks started out, doesn't know which team will show up. Will it be the aggressive Knicks team? Will it be the team that's going to fall behind by double digits early in the game? So the crowd is not the factor and dominating factor that they once were for the New York Knicks.
The Knicks, as you said, 15 home wins last year, just 15 and 26, the 14th home record in the Eastern Conference last year. Only the Miami Heat at 9 and 32 had a worse home record in the Eastern Conference a year ago. We're going to step aside and take our first break. We're at the MSG Training Center at Tarrytown, New York. It's NBA TV Real Training Camp, New York Knicks. Stick around. NBA TV's Real Training Camp Tour continues in Tarrytown, New York. We are here covering the New York Knicks and their brand new head coach, former coach of the year, Mike D'Antoni. He is mic'd up. We also have Nate Robinson and Quentin Richardson mic'd up. We'll hear from them in just a little bit. But for now, let's lay out and hear more of Mike D'Antoni.
I do go to quick at one time. All right, let's run it quick. Let's run it quick. I'll show you one thing. Quick. Steph's got the ball. Eddie, you're, let's say you're in the low post there, Eddie. Okay, we're okay. Once this starts, you step off, okay? We're running it quick. We call quick at. Get the ball. Stay right. No. Stay up. You're going to get the ball, Anthony, and you're going to dribble at Steph, okay? So here, get back in there. Come on, get it, dribble right at Steph. You set his pick up, and we got this going on. You'll pop, dive, we're good. All right? Quick at. What you're doing is running a quick, and then you're going at Steph. All right, quick at. Here we go. Right at him, go right at him. Good. All right? Everybody, that's pretty easy. Quick at. Yeah, you go right at the guard. Yeah, you can either come off, go right at Steph, or you'll be the top guy doing it. All right, everybody ready? All right, guys, let's go, Greg. Let's go. Let's get him going. Let's go. Stretching.
You're playing us.
You can. I'm telling you, you can't.
Saying like you can't like
you can't load up.
I guess we tried to switch against you guys a couple times, and it was enter to the post, double team, swing.
Exactly. If you just calm down, see, it doesn't have to go fast. You don't have to go fast. There we go. Here we go, guys. Let's go. Get warmed up.
Get a band.
Let's have a good one today.
Steps out.
He comes across, bumpy, step front, step behind him.
Mike D'Antoni, you know, the head coach of the New York Knicks, now has an Italian, Danilo Gallinari, that they took as a lottery pick. He, of course, the Italian, and there he is right there. He's got a back injury that we'll get into that in a little bit in terms of the details. He will not be practicing with the team today and was not practicing with them at Skidmore either. But Mike D'Antoni, an amazing career over in Italy, first as a player, a championship player, then as a championship head coach, and really a pioneer in that regard.
Yep. And he brought that magic to the NBA. As we mentioned with Phoenix Suns, he's been very successful. And you can see the style of play that he played with is what he brings to his teams as a coach. Giving a lot of freedom. And how about this? This is an aberration. I never saw that in an NBA championship before.
Not unlike the Gatorade shower that Paul Pierce gave to Doc Rivers in Game 6 against the Lakers, but that's how they do it over in Europe and specifically in Italy. And there is Mike D'Antoni, a storied basketball career. And as you take a look at the resume for him, Phoenix head coach from 03 to 08. We showed you his record on a lower third graphic a moment ago, a sparkling record with the Phoenix Suns. Spent some time with San Antonio, there with Greg Popovich. He was the Denver head coach. Yeah, remember that. He got a cup of coffee stalking the sidelines for the Nuggets back in 98, 99. That didn't go as well as he would have liked. An assistant with Portland. He's been all over this world and all over this country coaching basketball. Now he's the coach of your New York Knicks.
One thing I'm often asked, what do I think the team will do this season? I'm a defensive guy. The Knicks won 2 championships because of our defensive prowess. And if you talk to D'Antoni, defense is not paramount in this concept. He says that we don't worry about the other team. They have to worry about us. So with Phoenix, he had a lot of success, but once he got to the playoffs, he was not as successful as the regular season because I think the lack of defense. When teams slow you down to a half-court game, you've got to play defense. It makes a big difference. And they did not make that transition very well, especially enough to win a championship. So one of my things I'm waiting to see is how will the Knicks perform on defense? Some nights the ball is not going in the hoop. And if you can play defense like the Boston Celtics, made a complete 360 in their defensive effort to turn around and win the championship. So this is something that you can fall back on when you're having poor shooting nights. So I'm curious to see what the Knicks are going to do in that respect.
Clyde, your Knicks teams that won 2 championships back in the early 70s prided themselves on defense and teamwork. And those are going to be 2 staples that will get this Knicks team from 23 wins to 33 wins to 43 wins, wherever they're going to go this year, next year, and beyond. And as you look back on your career and think back before the regular season began to the old school training camps, what was the number one difference between these glitzy practice facilities that we've been in time after time covering these teams on real training camp and what you dealt with back in your day?
It's all a mental aspect that you bring to the game. Right now you see the Knicks are very up-tempo, very confident, new coach, new training camp facility this year, Saratoga Springs, which is very apropos because that's where the horses run up there. So the Knicks are going to add that to their style this season as well. But it's all a mindset. Like the year we won in 69-70, the Celtics defeated playoffs. But at that point, we thought we were on a par with them. So coming into that season, we were talking championship. We were working diligently on defense and teamwork, all the aspects that were going to get us to the next level. So right now you see the stretching, and there's the banner here at the Knicks facility.
You still get chills when you see that?
Oh, yeah, a lot of memories. That season is more etched in my mind than the 72-73 Knicks championship. This season we won 18 consecutive games at the time, an NBA record. And then, of course, the dramatic way Willis came onto the court to propel us to Game 7 and the championship. And the Knicks fans have suffered a long time before winning that championship, and now more agony for the Knicks now as well. So I think for them to be an elite team, they're still two or 3 years away. They have to get some luck that some of these players right there, Duhon has to really have a career year. Crawford coming off a career season. This kid, Roberson, a good shooter. So these type of players are going to have to play well in order for the Knicks to reach the next level.
And there is Donnie Walsh, the new president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks. And you can see just on his face, he really wears the years that he has spent wheeling and dealing in the NBA, and he is one of the most respected executives in the NBA. And, you know, I know James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks, is psyched and fired up to have this great man running his franchise.
Right, he brings a lot of stability to the team. He's a New Yorker, so he knows what is expected of New York teams, how to win. So he's one of the more respected guys in the league. So he brings a lot of credibility to the New York franchise. Yeah, this looks like high school stuff here. The Knicks are getting loose before they get into their running. Personally, when I played in college, I had an excellent trainer. So I came into the NBA with knowledge of training, stretching. I could tape my own ankles. So I was very aware of all of those circumstances. And I think that's why I had a pretty much injury-free career. And you know, Rick, I still jog. And when I tell my peers that, they look at me like I'm from outer space.
Well, Clyde, you're still in fantastic shape, and so is Herb Williams, by the way. And he has been here through several head coaching changes, and good for him for that. We step aside once again. We're at the Nik's training camp at the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. Rejoin us on the other side, won't you? Welcome back to NBA TV Real Training Camp, New York Knicks. A look at Manhattan, and that, of course, is Madison Square Garden, the newest and latest incarnation of MSG. Rick Hamill, Walt Clyde Frazier on the mic for NBA TV. Also on the mic, Mike D'Antoni, Nate Robinson, and also Quentin Richardson. And let's get you back to practice. More from myself and Clyde in just a moment.
Wilson said Marty had like a Boston baked bean.
I know you're talking about.
Overton.
Who you look like, Eddie? Who Eddie look like, man? Me.
Black Jay Leno.
Damn. He look like a black Jay Leno. Mark Duan. I'm act like it's there.
Damn, Q, size 15.
This is 50.com looking at. Rome look like Kales.
And a look at Allen Houston, longtime New York Knick, 37 years young, entering what he hopes will be his 13th season in the NBA. Of course, started with the Detroit Pistons and then came over to the New York Knicks and had one of the biggest shots in the history of the Knick franchise and one of the best shooters in the history of the New York Knicks. And if he makes this team, his presence will be as much about bringing back that old school culture, that hard-nosed Knick culture, as much as it will be his primetime shooting.
Right, but Houston, you don't find shooters like Allen Houston anymore, a bona fide perimeter shooter. I mean, from uptown, downtown, around town, he could do it. Free throw line, magnificent shooter. So these guys are hard to find in the NBA these days. But under the concept of Mike D'Antoni's running gun offense, Allen Houston might have a role. And that's why they're looking at him, because of his phenomenal perimeter shooting. And in this offense, you get so many 15, 20-foot jumpers, and that's where Allen was most lethal when he played.
And how do you think he looks physically here? Does he look fit enough to play in a D'Antoni system, do you think?
Well, that knee, you see how he's kind of gingerly doing that particular drill. Physically, yeah, he looks the same weight and all of that, but his agility, because of the injury to his knee, that's the problem that he'll have to overcome.
And for Allen Houston, the last time he was technically on the roster was 04-05. Didn't play much that year. And then it's been 3 years out of basketball, 05-06, 06-07, 07-08, not in the NBA. And he is trying to make a comeback with the New York Knicks. And back in 1999, in a first-round playoff series against the hated Miami Heat, the Knicks come in as the 8 seed, Miami is the 1 seed, and this man helped the New York Knicks shock the world.
Yep, a fortuitous bounce going the Knicks' way, propelling them to the victory. And watch Houston, a guy who's unflappable on the court, energized because of that play. All the Knicks rejoicing.
And that catapulted the Knicks all the way to the NBA Finals, despite an injury to Patrick Ewing. Really wasn't much of a factor in that run. Marcus Camby was a big-time player during that run. So was that man. So was Latrell Sprewell. Came up a little bit short, actually a lot bit short against San Antonio in the Finals. But that was a magical playoff run for the New York Knicks, despite not winning a championship because nobody thought they'd get out of the first round.
Right. That shows you, though, the way things can turn around. Now, with this team, it could happen as well. Some things that can ignite a team. So one player that could get hot and carry a team. And that's what the Knicks are hoping for this season.
Allen Houston known for his shooting, and so is Quentin Richardson. And let's talk about him just a little bit more. Obviously has a beautiful past with Mike D'Antoni. I know Mike is very happy about being reunited with Quentin Richardson, who last year, Clyde, as you know, averaged 8.1 points per game in 28.3 minutes, and that is absolutely brutal, and that is something that Quentin Richardson is not happy about at all. Shot 36% from the field, 32% from downtown, and 68% from the free throw line. He was off all year.
Yeah, you know, he had back surgery. He was coming off of back surgery, but the credit to Q, he never used that as an excuse. He said, hey, man, I was terrible. I had a terrible year. And now he's looking to rectify that. We mentioned he's lost over 20 pounds coming into this season. So he's definitely galvanized to get off to a better start. And as the three position, you've got to be a prolific scorer. So he has to at least average over 15 points a game to help the Knicks.
And there's major competition at that position. Wilson Chandler, Danilo Gallinari, that's where he projects, and Quentin Richardson as well. He is mic'd up just as well as his coach, Mike D'Antoni. Let's see if we can hear some nuggets out of that man, Q Rock.
Good, Malik. Good, Malik.
I get down wrong.
Bang, bang, kill.
Ah!
Let's run elbow again. Different one. Elbow. Hold up, we need the corner. We need the corner. We need the corner.
Yeah.
He got it, Nate. Here you go, elbow. Here you go. Come off two of them. Go hard. Double drag.
Son, that's just white.
Good, Patrick. Nice. We go, well, son. Good job, Will. Good job, Will. Him. Roll, roll, roll. Ah! Swing it. Good, Will. Good, Will. Get Pat. Dunk that thing. Good job. Here we go. Elbow. Elbow. Go hard, Allen. Good. Drag, big fella. Stay. Good, Malik. Good job. Roll. There you go, good. We go, Jerome. Knock it down, Malik. Good job, Malik. Here you go, White.
Hey, Marty.
Let's run elbow again. Elbow into 21. Elbow weak. Good. 21. Go Q. Good. Nice. Quick. Good, David. Good. Nice. Way to work it. Good, David. Good job. Nice.
Yeah, Chris.
Here we go. Elbow. Nate, jump here. Elbow. There we go. Okay, good. 21. Good job, Jerome. Good job, Jerome. Quick. Get out there, Ron. Bang. Let's run roll.
Clyde, from what we're seeing here at practice, meshed with what we've seen in the past from Mike D'Antoni's offenses in Phoenix, and it's a new offense for these New York Knicks. Is it a tough offense to learn, or is it an easy offense to learn? You know, is it simplistic, or is it highly complex?
Very simplistic because you're playing basketball. In basketball from grade school, you learn pass the ball, you go away. You set a pick, you roll. And this is what this offense is predicated on. Pass the ball, go away, look for the open man, you cut towards the ball, and it's perpetual motion. Never standing around, never getting stagnant on the offense, and this is why guys are always coming open to get shots.
And in the last 4 seasons in Phoenix, the offensive numbers have been off the charts. They have, in terms of points per game and field goal percentage, either led the NBA or been in the top 5, as you see. 04-05, that was the year Mike won Coach of the Year. 110.4 per game, the highest PPG in his tenure there. And as you can see, led the NBA in points 3 straight years, and for the last 3 years, led the NBA in field goal percentage.
Well, you know, as you alluded to, Steve Nash was a catalyst for that. So the Knicks are hoping that maybe Marbury, Duhan, Nate Robinson can spell a Nash in this type of offense to get the guys open. But see, when you do that, you have to minimize your shooting. So Jamal led them last year with 20 points a game. So now he'll have to score less this season in order to implement what we're talking about in this offense to get other guys involved. Jamal averaged 5 assists to go with those 20 points. Stephon around 4 assists. So I think in order for this offense to really thrive, Jamal will have to do less offensively and look to get his teammates more involved.
And we talked off air about shot selection for Jamal Crawford. And tell everybody watching in TV land what you told me about how talented Jamal is and what his game is capable of if he plays it the right way.
One-on-one, no one can stop him in transition. He has the shaking and baking going on, behind the back move. And I tell Jamal, why do you ever force a shot? You can get any shot that you want. So sometimes he's very impatient. You see him shooting fadeaway jumpers. So he has to remain focused on what he's doing on the floor and not put up ill-advised shots. So when he's shooting the ball in his range and in his element, he's a very good shooter. Otherwise, he's 38%. And I think he finished the season at 41%, so he must improve on his field goal percentage.
It was up a little bit. I mean, this is a guy who has been in the high 30s in terms of field goal shooting, and obviously that's disgusting. That's not anything that's going to help you win games. When you get it into the 40s, that's certainly going to help out. 41% last year. 36% from downtown, and led the team shooting 86% from the free throw line. But forget all those stats, because stats don't mean anything in crunch time. But when crunch time comes for this team and they need a bucket with a few ticks left, that's the dude taking that shot. And Clyde, as you know, a lot of times that baby goes in. He's a very clutch performer.
Yeah, because like we say, when he's one-on-one, he's so elusive. He can take you right, he can take you left. He has the fall-away jumper. So just an uncanny guy to try to defend one-on-one. Because like when I used to guard Earl Monroe, people say, why is he so tough? I said, because he doesn't know what he's going to do. How can I know? And that's similar with Jamal. The defender doesn't know what he's going to do because he's so instinctive. He's such an improviser on the offense, and he has all the moves, so that makes it very difficult to deny him.
That's a wonderful point. He is a very unpredictable player in terms of what he's going to do play to play, and in terms of what he's going to do game to game. He's a guy that can go off for 50 or a guy that can give you a 3 for 15. Now for Jamal Crawford, there has been the first unit playing for this team. As we take a look at the team leaders from last year, you see Crawford assists, points, the three-point shooting in terms of makes, free throw shooting, and also minutes per game, and led him in just about every category other than the big categories, rebounding and field goal percentage. Crawford has been running with the first team, obviously, but there's been a new look here late in training camp. It's been Duhan at the 1, Marbury at the 2, Crawford at the 3, with Zebo at the 4 and David Lee at the 5. I want you to talk to me about this man maybe playing some 3 for the New York Knicks this season, and do you think that might work out?
Well, he can do it offensively. Defensively, he's going to be overwhelmed. 3 position of guys like Q-Rich, guys that are much stronger. And Jamal, not a good rebounder. So that unit that you alluded to, offensively, yeah, they can focus. But defensively, there's not a lot of rebounding there. We know this team had trouble last season rebounding. So you can ill afford to give up second opportunities to the offense, where they take a perimeter shot, miss, then get a rebound underneath and make an easy basket. So that's what the Knicks have to guard against. So that would be a different position for Jamal, playing the 3 position. I think he can make the transition, but again, I think they're going to also give up something on the defense.
And that's what they did in Phoenix. You know, they went with that small lineup, Amari at the 5, and just went, you know, everybody played a position up, hurt him defensively, but definitely helped them offensively as we take a look at Jamal Crawford doing what he does.
Yeah, the grandeur, the majesty of Jamal. So he has the perimeter shot. When he has that going, you must come up and contest him. And then he has the ability to create off the dribble. This time a savvy play with the steal coming from behind. He can be a better defender because he has good hands. Has very good hands. See right there, when he's not forcing shots, he's a lethal shooter, as you can see swishing that shot.
And he wore that Band-Aid on the left shoulder all year last year. I want you to describe for people home what exactly that bandage. It looks like a fashion statement, but he was actually wearing that for a physical reason, but we do not see him wearing it this time around.
Yeah, he had an injured shoulder. And, you know, players are very superstitious. So he was having success wearing that patch on his shoulder, and he continued to do so throughout the season. You see him listed as 6'5", 200. You mentioned he played 40 minutes a game last season. So you don't look at, when you look at Crawford, you don't think of stamina and physical strength, just like Allen Iverson, another guy who's diminutive physically, but has the stamina to play over 44 minutes a game with Iverson. So Jamal also brought that to the game last season.
Those guys share that ability to run all day long, and Jamal Crawford, the leader of the Knicks last year, and he's going to be a big piece of the puzzle this year as the Knicks look to rebound and win more than the 23 they put up last year. We return to NBA TV Real Training Camp New York Knicks right after this. Welcome back to NBA TV Real Training Camp. We are in the Empire State. That is the Empire State Building in Manhattan, one of the many landmarks.
Oh, Rick, you're wrong. That's the Chrysler Building.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right there.
I thought that was the Empire State Building.
Yeah, the Empire right there.
Oh, my bad. I saw that. I saw the tower shooting up right there. Officially corrected by Walt Clyde Frazier, and that's why we have him here to keep the checks and balances going on yours truly, Rick Kamler. We're in Tarrytown, New York with the MSG Training Center here, the current home, the preseason home of the New York Knicks. They just got back from Saratoga Skidmore College where they opened up training camp, and there was a very positive vibe there, upbeat. They were running, they were sweating, they were getting in shape for Mike D'Antoni's system. And we haven't talked about Stephon Marbury in depth yet, and we're going to do that right now. Steph, obviously a phenomenal player. The stats he has put up over his career just blow your mind. But just 24 games played last year. Not a factor for the Knicks at all. Has a career with Mike D'Antoni. Played with him just a little bit with the Phoenix Suns. And coming into this training camp, Clyde, you have all kinds of questions about his future with the New York Knicks, and he's obviously a fantastic player, but where do you think he fits in with the Knicks right now, and what do you think his future is with the New York Knicks?
I've always been a big Stephon Marbury fan because he's a guy to remind me of a guy who will play an NBA game and then go to the Y after the game and play with his friends. He brings that kind of enthusiasm to the game. People forget when they traded Stephon to the Knicks from Phoenix, it rejuvenated this franchise. The season ticket sales went up, the TV ratings were up, and unfortunately last season he had his worst year. Tumultuous season for Steph. The loss of his father really devastated him. The frivolity with the coach, he and Isaiah Thomas going through their thing. So he just a lost year for Stephon. A lot of the fans turned off to him, actually blaming him for the demise of the Knicks as well. So right now, very maligned player, Stephon, but I think he can still play. You can see right now he's in the best shape of his career, coming in at 6'2", 200 pounds. Rick, you alluded to his stats. Some of them up there with Oscar Robertson, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. 20 points a game, 8 assists a game for his career. So I think he still has game, but it's dubious as to whether the Knicks will keep him around because of the vibes with the players. A lot of the players that turned against Steph after last season, some of his antics off the court as well. But I think players are forgiving. I think they have to respect Steph now. They see he's in shape. If he come in, he's working very diligently to prove to them that he wants to be a part of this team. He can be an integral part of what they can do. So personally, I like to see him stick. The option the Knicks have, they can buy him out. They can try to trade him. The trade is out of the picture with him making $22 million. So the other option is buyout. But I think they should keep him around and see what he can do. You could always buy him out. I mean, if he's not productive, maybe if he's productive, some teams might be interested in Stephon. So this is the quagmire that the Knicks are in right now with him.
Well, here's the thing. He's only 31 years old. There's a lot of tread left on the tire. And I know he came out of college out of Georgia Tech early, but he's 31 years old. He has a lot of years left, and he's entering the last year of his contract. And, oh, by the way, this is a rebuilding year for the New York Knicks. I mean, Mike D'Antoni is basically throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks and seeing what they want to go with for subsequent years. And so why not? I mean, it's not like the Knicks have a championship potentially awaiting them. So why not see what you can get out of Stephon Marbury? Maybe increase his trading value. It just doesn't make sense to buy him out right now here today. And obviously that's the decision that James Dolan and Donnie Walsh have made, and they could do that in the future. But I think they're doing the right thing in terms of bringing him in here and seeing what he can give them.
Right, because Steph's mindset now is he knows he has something to prove, and he's willing to do that. He's still one of the elite guards in this league. If you look at he averaged 13 points last season. That would be better. That would be a career year for Duhon, for Nate Robertson, for any other Knick guard that they have on the team.
And it was the worst year of his career.
Right. So, I'm baffled by how people have turned on Steph and not willing to give him a chance. But I think Donnie Walsh, shrewd, clever, slick man that he is, he's taking a long look at Stephon, and I think it's going to pay off in the end.
Clyde, when you take a look at the Knicks roster, Stephon Marbury is one of four 30-plus-year-old players on this New York Knicks team. And, Steph figures to be a prominent member of the rotation, at least early on. That's just one man's opinion. I think, Clyde, you share that opinion. The other 30-plussers on this team, Jerome James at 32. You have Allen Houston at 37, but he hasn't even made this team. He's not under a guaranteed contract yet. And then you have Malik Rose at 33. And everybody else is in their 20s. So when you factor in that most of these guys are not going to be rotation players, this is an ultra-young Knicks team. But can a Jerome James, who played 2 games last year, give this team anything? Can Malik Rose, who was in and out of the rotation last year, give this team anything?
No, because of the style of play. Jerome James is like Eddie Curry. He's in a quagmire as how he's going to fit into this run-and-gun system. Will they slow down sometime? The case in point, folks, is look at Shaq going to Phoenix, what he did. How is he going to fit in there? That's the scenario that Malik Rose is in, as well as Jerome James and Eddie Curry. How are they going to fit into this run-and-gun style of play? We've already seen that the coach has alluded to the fact that he wants David Lee as the center. And Jared Jeffries, before he broke his leg, were mentioned as centers as well, because they are elusive. They're guys that can get up and down the court, which is paramount in this style of play.
You mentioned Eddie Curry, and you mentioned Jared Jeffries, and we need to, discuss their situation. Starting with Jeffries, your heart just goes out to the guy. Suffers a fractured shin, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. And he's actually been texting the great Terrell Owens of the Dallas Cowboys, scored an amazing touchdown on Sunday. But Jared Jeffries has been talking with T.O. about a hyperbaric chamber to sleep in to facilitate quicker healing. And, of course, you look back to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when T.O. was with the Philadelphia Eagles, was not supposed to play in that Super Bowl with the cracked leg, played a brilliant football game. And now Jared Jeffries may take a page out of T.O.'s book and try to beat the 6 to 8 week prognosis for that broken leg by sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber.
Well, this shows the dedication of Jeffries. He's been injury prone. Remember last season he sprained his wrist, so he missed the first 22 games of the season. And he's a very valuable guy, 6'10", 240, can run the court, a good rebounder, score. His shooting was a little off because I thought he was apprehensive about his shot. But I think D'Antoni views him as a Diaw, Boris Diaw type of player that he had in Phoenix that could play that same role that Diaw did in this system.
The good news is, Clyde, he's not done for the year, and he suffered the injury very, very early. So he could potentially only miss about a month of the regular season. And Jared, if you watch this subsequent to our taping here, we hope that is the case. Get well soon. Now on Eddie Curry, it's also a get-well-soon situation, at least reversing it back a week. A week ago at this time, he was in his hotel room, very, very sick. He had a bacterial infection, vomiting. He actually had to be admitted to a hospital and hooked up to an IV. He had a temperature of 104. It was like an ambulance scenario to get that big man, Eddie Curry, to the hospital and get it figured out what was going on. He missed the entire training camp at Saratoga at Skidmore College, recovering from that bacterial infection. And this, in fact, is his first appearance in training camp or the preseason under this Mike D'Antoni-led New York Knicks team. How do you think Eddie Curry looks?
He looks slim. And I think that's a positive sign because he's astounding at 285 and 300 pounds. He never loses his agility and mobility. If you looked at his stats, 13 points, 4 assists. It's just incredulous. That means that he should be 8 or 9 assists per game. You mentioned less than 1 block shot per game at his height, so that's where he must improve. He has to be a more intimidating presence, a more tenacious presence on the court for the Knicks.
And here's a look at Eddie Curry. Sans cornrows. You saw the new look. He let it grow in the offseason, Clyde, and he's got the cornrows here at Tarrytown. Last year without that look, and looking pretty good right there. You mentioned the numbers, 13.2 points per game in 25.9 minutes and shot 55% from the floor. That's the good news. The bad news, a half a block per game from a 7-footer.
Yeah, I think he was really hurt by making the quantum leap from high school to the pros. You can see fundamentally he was not taught on how to defend guys coming into the paint. So that's an aspect that Eddie has to work on. But he's very coachable, and he has something you can't teach, quickness. I mean, this guy is astounding, some of the moves that he makes, and it's very difficult to guard him one-on-one. So what he does, he requires double teaming. Of course, when you have that, if the Knicks move the ball prudently to the open man, they're going to get a lot of uncontested shots.
A lot of question marks surrounding Eddie Curry and Jerome James and how they will be used in Mike D'Antoni's system this year. And speaking of Mike, let's listen in.
Defense. You watch your stunts, and then if I'm here and I'm rotating out, I got corner, If I'm rotating up, I got sack. Everybody else is here. Keep playing, stay excited. Talk and get stunts. Fast out.
Shoot him off.
Good D, Lee.
You got one. Blue got one.
Patrick, you're on.
You're green.
Come on, White. Here we go. David, you're up.
Back. Oh, he's cheating in. Oh, my God.
Good, Eddie. Good job, Eddie. Good.
Come on, White. Come on, D-Lee. Okay. One y'all. Corner. Yes.
Eddie.
Same thing. White, blue's on D. Blue's on offense. Same way.
Hey, you can't creep. You gotta start. Only when they shoot, you gotta go for the rebound. Yeah. Diego, you're up.
Nice pass, David. Good. Good job, Malik.
Ah, dang. We got nothing.
Bang! Steph! Right? I got ball. Your corner, Chris. Shot. Knock it down, Steph. Oh, yeah. Let's block it. Shoot, Lee. Shot. Yes. Yes.
You got lucky starting back because you got to know who these two guys are.
He's creeping.
And as the Knicks work on an offensive drill here, as pointed out by Walton, not too much defense going on, just a junk zone being played as they work on moving it around the perimeter, looking for open shots. We have seen some of the activity of Wilson Chandler, number 21, a second-year player out of DePaul, top draft pick last year, first-round draft pick of the New York Knicks, and really worked his way into the rotation towards the end of the year. And I know you really liked what you saw out of Wilson Chandler.
Yeah, there he is now, 6'8", 225 pounds of fury. Why he's going to play a lot in this offense, he can run and he can shoot, but he's also a good shot blocker, something the Knicks are in dire need of. So this man brings a lot of intensity on the defense, as well as a good rebounder. So that's the name you should look for, folks. Wilson Chandler. This might be a breakout year for him.
You mentioned how Jared Jeffries, when healthy, could be a Diaw-ish type of player, circa D'Antoni's days in Phoenix. Could Wilson Chandler be a Marion-ish type of player, thinking of that D'Antoni system? And I say that, this guy hasn't really done anything in the league. I say that with apologies to four-time All-Star Sean Marion, but as we try to bring D'Antoni from Phoenix here to New York, could he assimilate some of the things that Marion did for Phoenix?
Yeah, very apropos. You're right. I never looked at it that way. Obviously, he's a better shooter than Marion, but he has some of the other traits as well. He can get up and down the floor. He runs the floor well. So, yeah, you're right. Good analogy there.
There's a good look at Wilson Chandler, tatted up as many of the NBA players are, and it brings to mind we've got Denver in a couple of days. They're coming up on Thursday, and Kenyon Martin said a couple of weeks ago that we may not lead the league in stats, but we lead the league in tats.
But these guys are closing in on him. I don't know for how long.
Stephon Marbury, of course, inked up, and there is Wilson Chandler. Could you see him starting for the New York Knicks at the 3, or do you think that's Quentin Richardson's spot?
No, I could easily see him starting at the 3. Yep, he has the versatility to do that. I think he could play it 2. He could be a shooting guard too. Has to work on his defense, which a lot of these guys listen to me, so I want to talk to him a little about defense. One thing he does wrong on the defense, once he's under the basket with the guy, he relaxes. Usually when you relax on defense, that's when you get beaten. You can't relax on the defense. You got to become physical. Once a guy gives up his dribble, he's dead because he can't do anything. So the most important thing in basketball is having a dribble. That's the only way you're going to be able to manipulate on the floor. So once you give up that dribble, you're no longer a threat, and that's when you have to take a guy out of the game.
Well, that is, as we talk here, Clyde, at least the second left wing J, I've seen Allen Houston hit. The shot looks good from Allen Houston.
Classic form by Houston. What can he do it with guys hounding him? Can he do it stopping and popping? And that has yet to be answered. Because throughout my career, I prided myself on my defense. So I try to force guys to their weakness. So if I'm guarding Allen Houston right now, I force him to his left and try to make him jump off of that knee. Use that weak knee. See if he can shoot off of that particular side.
Nate Robinson plops one right in the face of Marty Collins. And Nate Robinson was traded from Phoenix to New York several years ago. And, you know, now he never got to play for Mike D'Antoni. Now he feels like, you know, maybe not a starting role, but off the bench, you know, changing pace, bringing you that energy and that offense. It feels like a good fit in a D'Antoni system.
Oh, yeah, he's going to thrive. To me, he's the most phenomenal athlete in the league. 5'7". He plays like he's 6'7". He's just an incredible player. And every year you've seen a maturation with him on and off. So I think this could also be a big year for Nate the Great.
So, Clyde, what you're saying is the 5'9" listing right there is quite generous.
Yeah, he's cheating. A couple of inches, maybe.
Little Nate is mic'd up as well. Let's see what he has to offer.
Here we go, Allen, you're off.
We don't want.
He made. Start there.
And one.
Foul! Foul! That's a foul. Hold on. 7 seconds. Let's go. 7 seconds. White ball. 7 seconds. Good block.
3, 2.
None.
Oh, Will. Oh, Will.
Nice pass. Good job, Marty. Good.
Oh, and one down.
Good job.
We need to stop, Blue.
Here we go. Chris, you're off.
Yes, Chris.
I'm trying to play two, man. I got two right here.
Nate Robinson is so animated. He's like a cartoon character among normal human beings, and we love him for that.
Yeah, that's why he's a crowd favorite. The kids really relate to Nate, and he's just a fun person to be around.
Nate Robinson, he will be a major factor for the New York Knicks this season. We're at the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. NBA TV Real Training Camp, New York Knicks style. Coming right back. Welcome back to NBA TV Real Training Camp. We are here covering the New York Knicks from the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. And we welcome you to our broadcast position, Rick Kamla and Knicks legend Walt Clyde Frazier. And we are joined right now by the president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks, Donnie Walsh. And Donnie, it is wonderful to have you here on the broadcast, and thank you for the access.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and I'm glad to be on with you.
No question about it, and I know James Dolan is happy to have you running his franchise, and it's a new start. Mike D'Antoni creating this new regime, a new identity, a new culture, and hopefully a new playoff sort of vibe for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy to be here. It's a great challenge, but it's also my hometown, and I'd love to be able to help in reviving, get it back to the days when Clyde was playing.
So how's training camp gone? Have you been surprised by some of the players? Or?
I've been surprised by probably all of the players in a certain sense. I think the shooting has been much better than I expected when I went in. I think Mike's got something to do with that. But my biggest confirmation was Mike D'Antoni. I love the way he came in and basically held the training camp. I mean, he gets right into what he's going to do. The players are going at full energy right away. He's very clear. He doesn't stop a lot. I can see why players like playing for him. So I think we'll have a style, and we'll have to see if we're good enough to play that style. I'm looking forward to this period where we play against other teams and see where we stand.
And it's all about a fresh start for the New York Knicks, and we're going to show you right now some of the additions and some of the subtractions. And one of the additions through the draft is Danilo Gallinari. Your big free agent acquisition was Chris Duhon, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Big Fella Jr., Patrick Ewing Jr., who you acquired in a recent trade. Allen Houston is trying to make another comeback here with the New York Knicks. Roberson played well at the Summer League. You bring him in. Balkman is out, and Randolph Morris is out. That's a lot of new faces, not a whole lot departs. I know Balkman was a solid player, but talk about Gallinari and the decision that went behind drafting him, and then give us an update on his back injury right now.
Yeah, well, we drafted Gallinari. I mean, he has a skill set. He played at a very high level in Europe for the Italian team over there. He was the go-to guy on his team at the age of 19. So he definitely has a skill set. He's got size. From my standpoint, he's a great shooter, and he's a guy that can really handle the ball. So that presents a great package. I think if you looked at the other players in the draft around him and the state of the Knicks, the thing that we liked was that he can create plays for other people. And we didn't have a lot of players who were doing that at the time. So I think he definitely can add that to our team. Obviously he has had a back issue since Las Vegas. We think he's close to getting back on the floor, but our medical staff is being very careful so it doesn't reoccur and then he's out for more time. He's now working real hard at the conditioning, and I think the sicker he gets of that, the closer we'll get on the floor. So, like you always are, when you have a new player, you're really anxious to get him out there and see him play, but I think we're doing it the right way.
Donnie, we have a lot of new faces, of course, that presents chemistry problems. Guys being familiar with each other, making passes or getting particular shots.
There's no doubt about that, and particularly if you watch us play, the ball moves a lot. And I think as we go on, guys are getting used to each other, where they going to get the shot, where they can make the shot. And I'm watching that develop, and that's going to take some time. There's no doubt about it. And the pace will take some time. We're doing it in training camp, but you got both teams going against each other that are playing the same way. When the other team is playing a different style, it's going to take a while to get through that. I was with Doug Moe when he played that way, and it took us about a month and a half, and then once the players got the hang of it, then the team can take off.
And Chris Duhon, we just saw him in action here on the practice court. Your free agent coup, so to speak, 2 years, $12 million, and might be your starting point guard under game one under Mike D'Antoni. I know that would be exciting for Chris Duhon, who had a season to forget last year in Chicago for a variety of reasons. He, like you, like Mike, like a lot of these Knicks, looking for a fresh start.
I think he is, and I think he's exactly the kind of player that we need to add to the team. He's a guy that looks for other people first. I think the longer he's with Mike, the more confidence he's going to have in his jumper. I think he's a good defender. We can play people up the floor, which starts the defense. And I think he's just a good player. I mean, a guy that, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, is going to add some order to what you're doing out there. He's a very effective, quiet leader. And he does it by the way he plays rather than talking about it. And I like that part of him.
What about Curry? How do you see him fitting into the scheme of things here?
Well, I think that if he can keep up with the play, which I think he can when he gets in shape. As you know, he was out for the first week of training camp, and we're very worried about him because he was really sick, particularly the first night. If he can keep up with the play and run the floor, with the way Mike plays, he's going to be left down there a lot. Well, one or two things are going to happen. Either he's going to be left down there alone or with a guy, a one-on-one situation. And at his size, that's going to be difficult for the opposition. Or they have to go down there and help, which will leave shooters open in the three-point area. And so I think that it's going to be easier on him once he gets in condition because it won't be defenses set up for him.
And Stephon Marbury comes in the final year of his deal, and Clyde and I have been remarking, he looks fantastic in terms of his conditioning and his volume to his step and all of that. The body language looks great. How do you see him fitting in this year with the team? And maybe coming off the bench, possibly being in the starting lineup. But how do you envision the next 6 months for Stephon Marbury?
Well, I would agree with you. I haven't seen a player come in at a training camp as in good condition as Stephon was. And just going on the first week of us being up, going through training camp, he fit exactly into this team because he's really shooting the ball well. So if somebody makes a play and draws the defense, he's nailing shots. He, on the other hand, can get a play for another player anytime he wants because the defense is going to have to worry about him. I've been very impressed with the way he's approached it. If I were him, I wouldn't get caught up in starting, non-starting. That hasn't even become an issue at this point and won't be for a while. And no matter which way it turns out, there's no way in my mind I can think he's not going to play a lot of minutes. So I think he's at a stage of his career where he should be intent on showing he can help a team win. And I think he can because he's got that kind of talent.
And Donnie, he's only 31 years old. I mean, it's not like we're talking about a 36, 37-year-old guy who's near the end. This guy's 31 years old with a lot of tread left on the tire.
Well, again, going back to the condition he's in, he probably took 3 years off of that. So, I mean, he really has done everything he can do up to this point to become a member of this team.
I look for Wilson Chandler, I think, to have a breakout season this year.
I would agree with that, Clyde. The first time I saw him play was when I came here early. We played against Indiana twice. And I have a lot of respect for their young player, Danny Granger. And Wilson was matched up against him. And what really impressed me was he didn't back down at all. And he caused Danny some problems. So he's carried that on in the first week of training camp. I think he's a terrific prospect. He's got enough right now to help us win. And he's going to get better and better if he keeps working on his game, which I think he will.
And Donnie, one more question for you, and I want to. It's a two-part question. I want you to go in a little bit more to the decision on Mike D'Antoni. A lot of worthy candidates were considered by you. You ultimately went with Mike. Obviously, a tremendous resume with the Phoenix Suns. So, talk about how excited you are to have Mike running this team, and then, what are some of your expectations for the upcoming season?
Well, that's the one thing I'm sure of is that Mike D'Antoni is our coach. I think he's a great coach. He's already showed me the way he approached training camp, that he's the kind of guy that can bring a team together. I think he'll give us the opportunity to take a look at our team and to see what players we have that can be successful. And if we're not successful, then what we need to, to go forward and become successful. I would expect that he'll just keep getting better and better. I think he approaches players in the most positive way of any coach I've been around, and yet he's got a firmness to him that, he draws lines. They're not superficial lines. They're real lines, and I think that the players see that. The other thing is, I can see it already. The players love playing for him. Both the way he plays, the way he coaches, and the way he approaches them. As far as the season is concerned, I really don't know. I want to see it develop, and, I'm pleased with where we are right now, but I think we have to play against some other people to find out exactly where we are. But based on what I see, I think that we'll be out there competing, which I really expect us to do throughout the year. And then that'll be a starting place for right now. It won't be good enough for a month from now, but for right now, it's a good enough place to be at. Again, I'll come back to the fact that I don't think we could have gotten a better guy than Mike D'Antoni to partner up with and try to do this. So I'm very, very happy.
Well, obviously, two great basketball men have been brought in to turn this New York Knicks ship around. And, Donnie, we really appreciate your time. And congratulations on getting this gig with the New York Knicks. Welcome back home, and go get them in 08-09.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick. It's always good to be with you, Clyde. And we'll look forward to the year.
Thank you very much. That is Donnie Walsh. He is the president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks. We're in Tarrytown, New York at the MSG Training Center. More Real Training Camp right after this. You have arrived on time as we resume NBA TV Real Training Camp from the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. The New York Knicks are currently under our microscope, and we're glad to have you with us. Rick Kamla and Walt Clyde Frazier here in New York, about a half hour from Manhattan and Madison Square Garden. Nate Robinson is a gentleman that we have talked about on this program to this point. He is mic'd up, so is Quentin Richardson, and we're going to come back in a moment and talk about a couple of big, Zach Randolph and David Lee. But right now, taking center stage, one of the little dudes, Nate Robinson.
My bounce pads be kind of low for these 7-footers.
But immediately,
we need blue right here.
Whoa.
All right, here we go. Elbow. We're running on only. Good job. Nice. Only on misses we're running. Only on misses. 2 points.
Listen, Elton is just playing straight
Nice
up.
pass, Zach.
We got help on the
Nice pass,
backside.
Zach.
Because he can cut, just like he did, he can do that. He can hit on the corner, he can come pick you. So you got to be real. You ready? Just be ready. Weak.
Go, Zach, go. Good.
Oh!
Z.
Let's go. Go.
Stay here.
Z Lee, when you stuck, you got 2 men.
Play ball.
As long as you
Nice
get
passing.
Oh, Z Lee.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about when y'all stuck over there, we got 2 men over here. We coming.
Stay here. Let's get a stop. Run on
Good pass.
stops.
Good
Run
screen,
on
C-Blue.
stops. In about 2 seconds.
Oh, push up. Go, block. Let's go.
Back up, Long.
Good job.
Hey, Rose.
Way to run. Blue ball.
As we take a look at David Lee, you just saw Wilson Chandler, number 21, rejecting a shot. And we mentioned that the Knicks have been tinkering around a little bit with the first unit with Crawford at the 3-step at the 2 and Duhan at the 1. But out here, it is probably your opening night starting lineup for the Knicks, barring injury of Chris Duhan at the 1, Jamal Crawford at the 2, Quentin Richardson at the 3, David Lee at the 5, and Zach Randolph at the 4. And now we want to talk about a couple of the big men, starting with David Lee, as you said, a crowd favorite at the Garden, and he has earned that through gritty offensive rebounding, posting double-doubles almost every single night. And he has an opportunity to maybe get a little bit more cash, Clyde, before Halloween. And if they don't extend him, then next summer he would become a restricted free agent. So there's really no hurry to get it done, but he is definitely a big part of this Knick future.
Oh, yeah, and a very tenacious rebounder, second only to Randolph on the club, averaging 9 bounds and 10 points. So career numbers last season for David Lee. But in this system, he's exposed because if he has a weakness, it's perimeter shooting. The little mid-range jumper, 10 to 15 feet away. So this is something that he must work on. He's been trying to gain confidence in that shot. But the problem is, you can see when he starts a game, if he misses the first shot from there, then he's reluctant to take the shot. So shooting is all about confidence. If you don't believe, you can't achieve, man. So he's got to keep his confidence up and work on that shot to be a better perimeter shooter.
If I may play devil's advocate, you know, David Lee, it figures, is the starting 5 for this team. How much perimeter shooting are they going to be asking of David Lee?
Well, what happens if he's in the game, they're going to take someone else away and force him to be a perimeter shooter. So they'll stand under the basket. So teams are going to double their shooters. They're going to double Jamal. They're going to double Duhan and force Lee to make some shots.
And Zach Randolph, there he is, a.k.a. Zebo. And last year, 17 and 10 for this Knick team. The numbers look great. But the results in terms of wins and losses, not there. And for Zach Randolph, he's a big, warm, fuzzy guy. He's a pleasure to be around. He's a great dude, and I'm hoping for big things for Zach Randolph because I really believe in that guy, the human being.
Zach is like Steph. He's maligned as a player because they think he's selfish. Think he forces too many shots. He disrupts the continuity. So he can give you 20 and 10, but do you win? So this is what people are looking at now. 17 to 10 are minute numbers for Zach, but his thing is chemistry. He has to be one of the players that's willing to sacrifice along with Jamal to make this a better team effort and not so much looking for his individual style of play.
And you mentioned, the need for outside shooting from David Lee. who's not an outside shooter. Zach Randolph, in fact, can drill it from 15 to 20 feet with regularity.
But he has a propensity for going from 30 feet. And that's the one they want him to take away from his repertoire. Zach, don't take the three-point shot. You can get any shot. He's a lot like Jamal. He has uncanny moves in the paint. He's a southpaw, so a lot of guys forget that when they're guarding him. But when he's 5 or 10 feet away, he has a nice little spin move off the glass, so he has all of that going. And that's what I think he should focus more on rather than the perimeter shots.
The Knicks need a big year from Zach Randolph if they want to improve on their 23 wins from a year ago. It is time for another break here from Tarrytown, New York. You are hopefully enjoying NBA TV Real Training Camp, New York Knicks. Quick reminder, we will be in Phoenix tomorrow covering the Suns, but we're having fun in New York as we speak.
Hey, Rick, do you know her?
Let me think. Oh, yeah, Statue of Liberty. Well, we incorrectly identified the Chrysler Building as the Empire State Building earlier in the show, so Clyde having a little bit of fun with yours truly, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That is, well, Clyde Frazier, Knick legend and Hall of Famer. I'm Rick Hamla, and we welcome you back to Tarrytown, New York. This is the Knicks training camp right now, and it's on NBA TV's Real Training Camp. And for the New York Knicks, the task is already very, very difficult, a huge mountain to climb just to get back into contention for a playoff spot. This team won 23 games last year. Think about it. If they make a 10-game improvement, which is huge, they're at 33 wins. They got a long way to go. And the task becomes that much more difficult when you consider the East got that much better in the offseason. And we show you right now a little bit of a look around the Eastern Conference. And you've obviously got Boston and Detroit up on top. They've been the dominant teams. Last year, Detroit a dominant team for years. Cleveland, Clyde, who I'm feeling. I think Cleveland wins the championship this year. They're an elite team as well. Philly gets Brand. Orlando with Dwight Howard, they look like they might be a 55, potentially like a 57-win team. Then you've got some teams looking to take the next step. Toronto, Atlanta, Washington with the questions about Gilbert Arenas. Milwaukee, they have a new coach in Scott Skiles. They get Richard Jefferson. They're going to be that much better. And then you have the New York Knicks adding Mike D'Antoni. You know, there are teams like Chicago. You know, what's going to happen with Derrick Rose? Is Chicago going to make their move? Miami gets a healthy Dwayne Wade back. You know, did they, and obviously with Michael Beasley, did they re-enter the playoff picture? It's going to be a very difficult task for the New York Knicks to get back to the playoffs this year.
Also, it's good for the Eastern Conference, a conference that has been beleaguered because of mediocrity. So obviously the Boston Celtics giving them some credibility now, being the world champions, and now all the new teams, Toronto, all of these teams, Orlando, very much improved along with the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Knicks, as you alluded to, are going to be hard-pressed just to get that 8th seed to get into the playoffs.
Well, let's talk about the Atlantic. I think we both agree that Boston is going to smear the competition. You know, even losing James Posey, that we were just up there a couple of days ago. They are absolutely feisty and spirited right now, and that's not good news for the rest of the NBA. We did not see any complacency at all up there with the Celtics. Then you've got Philadelphia, you've got Toronto, and I think those two teams, you know, have the potential to be real good this year. Jermaine O'Neal going to Toronto, of course, Elton Brand going to Philadelphia, who made huge strides last year. How do you see the Atlantic?
Well, you know, Washington, depending on what Gilbert Arenas, how he comes back. Orlando, that's a team I really like. A very young team, but this year they gained a measure of confidence by making it into the playoffs. Dwight Howard, definitely a player that's on the threshold of greatness. So you mentioned Philadelphia, the Celtics, the Nets. No one's talking about the Nets, so I think the Nets can also be a threat as well.
And the New Jersey Nets made major changes. You know, they trade Richard Jefferson. They bring in E and also Bobby Simmons from Milwaukee. They may be respectively your starting 4 and 3 for the New Jersey Nets this year. And you were talking off air about the fact that, you know, Mike D'Antoni brings sort of a West Coast style of system to the East Coast and here to the New York Knicks. And the East isn't quite as bruising as it was, you know, back in the 90s with the Knicks and the Heat, but it is still a half-court oriented conference in comparison to the West. So, you know, how is Mike D'Antoni going to shoehorn his system, you know, a West Coast system here on the East Coast?
Well, that's what he has to find out. Will that mesh in the Eastern Conference? Celtics have always been an up-tempo style of team. The Eastern Conference, of course, hounded, pounded style of defense, half-court scenario. And this is one thing that has always vexed the Phoenix Suns. When they've had to play in a half-court game, they were not as effective if you could slow them down. So now D'Antoni coming into a conference that plays that way. So how would he energize and keep this up-tempo style going now with the Knicks?
Mike D'Antoni and his Phoenix Suns averaged 110 per game last year, and that was basically their average during his tenure. And that is 6 PPG more than the highest scoring team in the Eastern Conference last year. And wouldn't you think that with all the losing that's gone on in the Garden and with the New York Knicks in recent years, that the fans, the realistic fans who say, you know what, we're probably not making the playoffs again this year either, wouldn't you think that those fans would just be happy with having an entertaining product to go watch in a return of the excitement to Madison Square Garden? Isn't that a good start for the Knicks fan base?
Yeah, that would mitigate the fans. But if the Knicks are not winning, they must compete. They can't get blown out like last year. Third quarter, they're down 20 points. So they must be a competitive team. Excitement would help keep the fans' interest. But New Yorkers they believe that if you give 100%, they will stick with you. And that's the scenario now that the Knicks are faced with. They know the Knicks are not an elite team. They're a rebuilding team, and they're willing to struggle and suffer along with this team if they're willing to give 100% whenever they play.
And speaking to that point, the Knicks fan base, very sophisticated, very knowledgeable. They understand basketball, and they cannot be sold a bill of goods that will not back it up. They can see right through that as we take a look at the team stats for the New York Knicks, and you see the point differential at over a -6 per game. The field goal shooting against at 48%, 47.5. That's ridiculously high for the opponent to give up that kind of shooting. And you see right there, 44% for the Knicks from the field overall and 34% from three-point range. So they're giving up last year, more an above average point per game to the opponent, and above average field goal percentage to the opponent, and then offensively below average in their shooting percentages, and that adds up to 23 wins.
Right, that's why they're hoping that Q Rich can come out of his funk and look like he might. We mentioned Jamal could be a more effective shooter, just getting better shot selection. Eddie Curry, if he's physically fit to run up and down the court, could also enhance their chances by posting inside, drawing double teams, and creating easy opportunities for his teammates.
Look at Eddie Curry, seemingly always smiling. And I know who's smiling somewhere, probably watching us right now, probably from down on the peninsula in Florida. Of course, an assistant coach with the Orlando Magic, and one of the greatest Knicks of all time, Patrick Ewing Sr., and congratulations to the big fella on just going into the Hall of Fame. And what a heartfelt and real speech he gave. I just loved seeing that. And we had the pleasure of being with Patrick for a year here on NBA TV. And he, of course, worked with Ahmad Rashad on his show. And there's the number 33 in the rafters. And Clyde, his son, Patrick Ewing Jr., a rookie out of Georgetown, came over to the New York Knicks in a trade for Frederick Weiss. So the Frederick Weiss era officially over for the New York Knicks. And Patrick Ewing Jr., that era begins. And, he's had mixed reviews so far in training camp, but very exciting to see Ewing once again in a Knick uniform.
Yeah, I can remember the kid when he was a Knick ball boy. And now look at him. But he's an athlete. They like his athletic ability. He's a good defender, not much of an offensive player, but they have enough guns, and I think that's why they brought him in, because his ability to run the floor and to defend and get rebounds.
Now, the Knicks have not been a team that has used the D-League very much in the past few years, and Patrick Ewing Jr. strikes me as potentially a D-League candidate this year. You get him down there, you get him some work, have him refine his game. Do you see that as a possibility for Pat Jr.?
Yeah, I would like. You can't get better sitting on the bench. Like you say, you need action. You need to get into games. So maybe this is a scenario the Knicks might look into for Patrick Ewing. Look at his so uncanny, the resemblance to his father.
And, unfortunately for Junior, he doesn't have the 7-0 there in the height column, because sometimes that's enough in the NBA. But 6'8" in a real nice frame on him, and obviously a lot of room for growth there for Patrick Ewing Jr.
But remember when Ewing came in, we thought he would be Bill Russell. He was a defensive specialist at Georgetown, a shot blocker, rebounder. And what a magnificent offensive game he put together as a pro. So it probably could happen with his son as well.
It could happen, and we're hoping it happens. Patrick Ewing Sr., obviously a tremendous shooter from that center position, and just overall speaking as well. Now, Anthony Roberson, a signee via the Summer League when he really opened some eyes there. He's bounced around the league a little bit. I know he had a decent run with the Golden State Warriors a couple of years ago, but he's just another guard in this mix, and he could figure into the D'Antoni system. He's a guy that likes to get out and run and shoot the three and make plays.
He's an Allen Houston type shooter, folks. Can't get off of him. And in this system, as you alluded to, Rick, there are a lot of shot opportunities in the 15 to 20-foot range, and that kid can really fill it up.
He's Eddie House-ish kind of, isn't he?
I think he's more accurate than Eddie. Ball handling, again, is a problem, being able to create off the dribble. But again, when you're in this running type of system, you get a lot of shots and not having to put the ball on the floor.
And congratulations go out to a journeyman like Roberson, getting this contract with the New York Knicks, getting a chance with basically a startup team, with a new president of basketball operations, Donnie Walsh, a new head coach in Mike D'Antoni, and a fresh start to his career as well.
Yeah, it's similar to the Golden State Warriors, another running gun team. They lack guys that can score. And as you mentioned, he was drafted early on by them, and he fit into that system and now fitting in well with the Knicks. But there's the guy standing in front of him, Stephon, that will be looking to take away some of his playing time.
Deal.
Zach Randolph with the miss, and the rebound to Marty Collins.
I got ball.
And Walt and I got to take a little bit of a break and just let you hear some of the sounds here from Knicks training camp.
Yeah,
shot, Lee.
Squealing.
Slow down, slow down.
Zebo. V. Woo. Nope. 21. Go ahead, Will. Marbury. That's us. White ball.
Way back. Go, elbow.
Right there, okay, don't hear me then.
Come on, guys, push yourself.
Right there.
Push yourself.
Let him go. Elbow, Ron. Follow me, Ron. Follow me.
Points are good.
Thank you. There we go, White. Good pass, Mark. Good run, Zebo. L1. Hey, roll.
Slow down. Roll.
Get into the play. By yourself.
Yeah, D-Lee. Ease up on it, ease up. There you go, knock. Bang, bang. Will, you for it, Will.
Angle. With Jamal, run angle, Jamal. Angle, angle.
Over here, over here.
Wait till again. Wait. Hold on, foot. Angle.
Will, you in the middle. You on the 45.
Go ahead, run.
Almost.
Angle.
You get here.
Right here, Jamal.
45.
Angle.
Hey, get nailed, Will, get nailed, Will. That's all ball.
Ball.
Okay, need one shot. Fist up, Houston.
Hey, fist up, Houston.
Houston. All right, power, that's all right. Get him.
Come on, bro. He ain't going.
Up on him, D-Lee.
Quick drink. Got one more to go. Quick drink.
I can't just stand there without no quick.
Yeah.
I can't. You got to come over and get me.
So, Clyde, as we check out practice here, Wilson Chandler, who we've talked about, making a nice drive to the hoop, but we mentioned mixed reviews on Patrick Ewing Jr. You saw a couple of lapses on the defensive end from Wilson.
Yeah, he let Carlins go baseline and then reverse right back, and really never got physical. So that's what I say. You can't relax on the defense. You have to always assert yourself, especially when guys are in a threatening position like that, right under the basket.
And we mentioned perimeter shooting from David Lee, and he deposited a 15-footer from the baseline. How do you look on that shot?
Well, that builds his confidence, making those shots, and that shot is going to be available if he's playing center. No centers are coming out to contest 15 to 20-foot jump shots.
Mike D'Antoni, I don't know if it made error or not, said a couple of times, push yourself. Maybe seeing a little bit of a lag in some of the overall play on all 10 dudes that were on the court right there. What did you see in terms of the effort and the enthusiasm here in that last 5 minutes or so?
I like the rhythm, the continuity, but again, it's all offensive. Like I say, I'm a defensive guy. I haven't really seen any defensive intensity here, but this team is predicated on offense and perpetual motion and movement, spacing, and I thought that was excellent.
And we saw Wilson Chandler running a little bit at the 4 with Zach Randolph standing underneath the hoop. It didn't look like Zach was impaired in any way, just maybe an experiment by Mike D'Antoni. And if, in fact, Wilson Chandler can slide up and play the 4, we know he can play the 3. You mentioned you think he can play a little 2. That sounds like a guy like James Posey, who can go from 2 to 3 to 4, or a guy like Ron Artest, who can go 2 to 3 to 4, or even Sean Marion, who can play basically all of those positions, with equal depthness. So that would be a nice interchangeable part for the Knicks to have if Chandler can play a little 4.
Yeah, versatility is paramount for this offense, because they were talking about Stephon playing the 3. So he could be 1, 2, 3. So all of these guys have to show that type of versatility, and that will increase their playing time. But again, when you have players playing out of position, you're giving up something on the other end, because they're not accustomed to guarding 3s or 4s, and especially Stephon or Jamal, when they have to go into that particular role.
It's a great point, Clyde, and obviously it is a work in progress for these Knicks as Quentin Richardson, from about 27 feet, he was short with that shot. And as the Knicks begin another scrimmage session here, in Tarrytown, New York. We step aside, and we'll come back and we'll wrap things up at Nick's training camp here on NBA TV, Real Training Camp, after this brief timeout. Welcome back, NBA TV Real Training Camp. New York Knicks from the MSG Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. Tarrytown is a historic area of New York here in Westchester County. And if you don't have a lot of money, you need not apply. Trust me on that. Rick Camelo, Walt Clyde Frazier, Knicks legend here in Tarrytown. Now winding down things here from Knicks Training Camp. And I wanted to bring this up. You know, next year at this time, Clyde, you and all these Knicks might be in Italy, you know, with the NBA Europe Live Tour that's been going on for years, and what a wild success that has been. Per the New York Post, the NBA has told the New York Knicks of its desire to feature Gallinari in Italy next season. And, of course, you have the ties, Mike D'Antoni to Italy as well. It seems like a perfect fit. And if, in fact, this preseason run for the Knicks is in Italy next season and you're there, congratulations in advance.
Oh, yeah. I could take my sartorial splendor over there, get some more Barcelona hats and show my style in Florence. Hey, I'd love that. Gallinari, you see warming up here, 6'10", 225, amazing grace. The man can really create off the dribble, and he has a lethal perimeter shot. So the Knicks were very excited about him, and now he's been bedeviled with his back woes, so he might miss most of preseason. We talked to Donnie Walsh, and he was mentioned that it's more precautionary than anything else, but I think it's a tremendous loss for this kid because he's so far behind now. You miss training camp, and you're not able to get acclimated to the system, and the other guys are off and running if he comes in during the regular season, so he has a lot of catching up to do.
And a very unfortunate beginning to Gallinari's career. First summer league game, you know, he had a bad first half, starts playing well, and then runs smack into Robert Tractor Traylor. Yes, he was trying to make a comeback, and as all of you know, Robert Tractor Traylor is built like a house, and
300
that is
pounds.
Yeah, I mean that is not any fun for Gallinari to run into him. Tweaked his back. Now he has he's been diagnosed with a bulging disc. There has been no talk at all of surgery. It's just something that's going to heal over time. He is resting and rehabbing as we speak, and he has been mentioned at least by some members of the media as a potential D-League candidate this year, and I think that would be a marvelous idea once he gets up to speed because, Clyde, as you mentioned, missing training camp, being so young, being from another country, it's going to be tough for him to catch up here in year one, but big things ahead for Danilo Gallinari. And you also have another fresh face on this Knick team, the son of Ernie Grunfeld, the czar of the Washington Wizards, and, of course, Dan Grunfeld played his college ball at Stanford, and he is here trying to make the squad as well. And we are joined right now by the head coach of the New York Knicks and one of the greatest guys in the NBA today on a personal level. He is Mike D'Antoni. And, Mike, it's been a pleasure being here.
Obviously, you got my Christmas card, right?
I did. It was beautiful. You and your family. But, Mike, congratulations on the new gig. I know you're excited about this, and we've enjoyed watching practice, and it's great to be on the air with you.
Well, it's, you know, we're making progress. It's going to be a while, but guys are definitely attentive and trying to do the right thing.
And the word out of training camp is that the vibe has been very upbeat, a lot of running, a lot of sweating, and just a rebirth for not just the new faces here in New York, but some of the guys who have been around, you know, learning your system as well.
Yeah, you know, it's going to take a while for everybody to get their legs. Anytime you get tired, you quit thinking, and it makes it a little bit tougher. But I think the guys are making progress, and I do like to play this way. And like I said before, they are enthusiastic, and you know, you'll see some real talent out there. There's some guys that played really well.
Any surprises in camp from some of the players?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Jared Jeffries before he got hurt, but he was playing really well. Nate Robinson is probably a little bit better than what I thought he was. He's got a world of talent. Fast. I mean, the guy's really fast. And the other guys are playing well.
Didn't you guys draft Nate? Were you there when Phoenix?
Well, we were going to draft him. It was funny, on draft night, I was out of the draft room saying to the crowd that don't get excited, we're not taking that pick. And then I heard Nate's name, and I'm going, well, evidently the trade didn't go through, and we took Nate because that's who we would have taken. So it's kind of odd, but it's good to be hooked back up with him.
Full circle with Nate Robinson and full circle with Quentin Richardson, who had the best year of his career, Mike, under your watch back in 04-05, the year you won Coach of the Year. He set an NBA record for threes attempted, led the league in threes made that year. He's down 25 pounds, and by all accounts, and you can fill us in on the details, he's looked great in camp so far.
Well, he's played well, and I think he's trying to break that record of attempts. It's okay if it's a come in. If it's record for attempts, you better have a record for mades too. But yeah, he's played well, and he has lost weight, and I think that'll serve him. He's quicker, and he'll get a lot of shots up, that's for sure.
Well, you've always been maligned for defense. Have you been hearing much talk about defense around here?
Well, because they don't talk to him. We try to play it. We play as, I think we have a very good defensive team, and that's one reason I hate to see Jared go out, because he's so good defensively. But Duhan will play it. We'll get Jamal's got to play a little bit better defense, but we do have some building blocks of guys that I think can be good defensive players. And defense is a lot of heart and brains, and if you want to play good defense, usually you can.
Look like you're looking for a lot of versatility this year from different players. Staff guys might be playing out of position, but playing a 1, 2, or 3 position on the court.
Well, we want 5 basketball players on the court, and that everybody to be able to make a 15-foot shot, pass the basketball, and if you're one-dimensional, you better be really good, because you have to be the best in the league at that, because if that's all you can do and you're not the best in the league, you're never going to win. So we're trying to get guys to expand their games, and we'll see if it works out.
Mike, you're known as having the most flamboyant offensive system in the NBA, and one of the highest octane offensive systems in NBA history. About 110 per game in your tenure in Phoenix. Now you bring that quote-unquote West Coast system or Western Conference system to the Eastern Conference here with the Knicks, which has historically been half-court, defensive-minded, smash-mouth. It's not quite as much that way as it was in the 90s, but how do you bring that wide-open attack to the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think the Eastern Conference is changing also, because you have Indiana, you have Washington, you have different people, Toronto, they're running a lot more. The rules have changed since the 90s. You can't, we're not impeding progress. You can't put hands on people. We're just taking advantage of the style of the game. We're trying to do the best that we can do. And, the Phoenix had good records against the East, so, also we had good players. So it's a little bit of both. But, I think up-tempo is fine. East-West doesn't really matter.
Mike, we see you as this unflappable coach, but we saw highlights of you as a player, man. Had your shirt off, pouring champagne all over you.
Fans will be a while. Those images will be, will be seared into people's brains for a while. But, I was kind of a hothead when I was playing, and, I get old, you mellow out.
Well, I see a similar style. The way you played is pretty much the way you coach it.
Oh yeah, that's not good. Back in those days too, you also could beat up guys, which you can now. But you know what? For me, it's just playing as hard as you can play, and then you'll find the system that's right for you, and we'll be able to adjust our system, do the right thing.
Well, we're hoping this happens with you as a Knick.
Yeah, that would be outside. You're one of the few people in New York that know that feeling, so hopefully we can get close to it.
Well, Mike, best of luck this season. Good health to your team, and go get some wins. 23 last year. I know you're hoping for bigger things this year. I know you quipped earlier that if we play 120 games, we may be able to put up a good number. I thought that was an awesome quote, but good luck this year.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys.
All right, that's Mike D'Antoni, former Coach of the Year and voted the top guard in Italian League history, and I'm not sure which honor he is more proud of, but we're proud to have Mike D'Antoni here, proud to be at the Knicks training facility here in Tarrytown, New York, and he is just a fun guy to be around, and I can imagine these players are psyched to have D'Antoni as their coach.
Well, I played for Red Holzman, and when you have a coach, when things go awry and you come to the bench and he's laid back, he's calm, it's contagious. So that's the way you see talking to him. He's like that, laid back. Nothing is ever a catastrophe. We'll get out of it sooner or later. Shots are going to start falling, and that's a terrific attitude to have. And I think when you're a player and you're playing for a coach like that, it's very relaxing for you to see that happening.
And he's a very engaging, colorful, comical guy, and I really think that's going to play well with the New York media. Because they've really been craving, some of that levity and some lightness and some lightheartedness, and D'Antoni is definitely going to give them that. Clyde, we're almost done here. but I want a prediction from you. 23 wins last year. Give me a number you think the Knicks hit this year.
I'm going to say 35.
Okay.
35 wins. I think, as we talked about, we're looking for a high-energy team, an up-tempo team. They only won 15 games at the Garden last year. They have to become a more dominant home court team, capitalize on the world's most famous arena, and also win more than 8 games on the road.
Well, Walt, Clyde Frazier, it's been a pleasure being here with you, spending a couple hours talking Knicks basketball.
Can I go to Phoenix with you, man? I'm free. I'm doing nothing.
Hold on. I'm hearing there's room on the flight. You want to come down with us? That would be just fine. Clyde, I really appreciate it. Great being out here with you.
Pleasure, too.
All right, Walt Clyde Frazier. He is Knick legend and Hall of Famer, and joining us here on NBA TV Real Training Camp. So for Clyde and our entire NBA TV crew, and Donnie Walsh and Mike D'Antoni, who were so kind to join us here courtside, I'm Rick Kamla signing off from Terrytown, New York. You have been watching NBA TV Real Training Camp, New York Knicks. We'll see you tomorrow from Phoenix, everybody. Have a good one.